Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Michael Beck and Chad Horn with the ChatGTM podcast. We are coming to you live from the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas for the Prosper Accelerate Conference. And we are once again blessed to have a fantastic guest with us. And once again, blessed because not only is a fantastic guest, he's a fantastic friend and somebody that I respect a lot in the industry, somebody that just I can't say enough good things about as a businessman, as a leader, as a personal friend. Mr. Brock Weeks, CEO Savi and founder of Savi Solutions.
Yeah.
He's blushing.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words, man. Always fun to come hang out with you guys. So I'm grateful to be here, man.
We're grateful to have you.
I'm going to record that next time, maybe play it at home for my kids when they're getting mad
It's
at me.
been
like,
recorded.
Guys, like,
yes.
I swear I'm a good
You know
guy.
what people think about me outside of these four walls?
My 9-year-old will love that.
Yeah. Chad, why don't you lead us off here?
So we're at a leadership conference,
Yep.
and in general, people are talking about the different disciplines within restaurant operations. And there's people, obviously, technology, but the guy we're sitting next to, I think, has something that bridges those two together. You can't really develop people without great data. And Brock, I'll kind of turn this into a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you coach people effectively without what you do? And I guess first people should know what you do. So talk about Savi and then answer that leadership question, right? How does the Savi solution in your approach help your customers coach and develop their people?
Yeah, it's a great question. We'll see how much we can cover today. Could go on a while for this, but at Savi, the basic premise of it is we believe that the answers to most of the questions that operations, HR, all of these different above store management teams are found in the four walls of the restaurant. It's just really hard to actually get there. You can secret shop, you can send people out there, but you're really looking at these really small snippets of time.
Mm-hmm.
You get data that kind of points you as temperature gauges where to look, but it doesn't have the context. Like imagine trying to be a coach of a team when all you're looking at is results from the previous game.
Yeah.
Just the stat line, right? Like you're like, oh yeah, I guess this guy was our best rebounder. I played a lot of basketball, right? So we're going to put him down. It's really, really hard. You need to understand the context behind it.
Watch the tape.
Watch the game tape. So we started Savi because we believe that those answers are going to be able to be extracted from a tool that's already in the restaurant, which is the surveillance systems. Typically used as an expensive insurance policy. Necessary, but less than 1% of that video is useful. And if you look at AI, the premise, and we'll talk probably more about AI, the basic premise of it, though, right now, what it's good at is taking massive amounts of unstructured, messy data and structuring it to surface patterns and insights, things that we as humans, if we had to scour through hours and hours of data, we would just lose interest and wouldn't be able to actually extract the information.
Can't impossible before this.
Correct. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But now, instead of surveillance tape having less than 1% of it actually reviewed, it's that massive, messy, unstructured data set that AI is starting to be able to structure these insights for you. So you're not getting a once-a-month secret shop visit or a once-a-week visit from a district manager. You're actually able to start to look at and develop these patterns of what's actually going on in the guest experience. How clean is the restaurant, right? Those things that actually affect the negative reviews and the customer experience. Right now, everyone's operating off of lagging indicators.
Yeah.
This structuring of surveillance data, video and audio, is actually going to be able to get you to the leading indicators. So it's a coaching, right? The aha moment for us and why we started the company is when I met with these executives that were data heavy and they were diving in and they're like, yes, we have all of these reports and we find things that we need to address. And I said, okay, well then how do you go address them? And like, well, it's this never-ending chain of trying to figure out what was actually happening. And oftentimes, imagine being a player on a team and a coach coming and telling you something you need to improve on. And you're like, no, I know I need to improve, but that's not what I need to improve on. I am actually struggling over here. But the coach never actually watched you play. They just looked at the stat line.
Flying blind.
Yeah, and so they're trying, and all that creates is frustration and anxiety for the frontline employees. You may not be catching that player who's facilitating and making everything else happen that might not be picked up on a stat line.
Yeah.
So, right, we're excited about what video is able to do to surface these insights, take you right to where you need to be, and then allow you to quickly watch with context so that you're going in and coaching those leaders. You're helping people figure out what they need to improve on, how they can improve on it, because people want to improve. They just want to be told how, and they want to be given the tools to be able to do that, which is why I love that we're at the Accelerate program, right? And what they're doing, investing in leaders and providing them the tools and the frameworks and the thought processes to be able to improve and lead and grow. So.
And it sounds like, in knowing your philosophy too, it's not about coaching the things that they need to improve. It's coaching those things that they need to keep replicating and celebrating your great employees, right?
Yeah, finding someone crushing it and doing well, you're able to take what a top performer's doing, and if you understand that and can replicate that
codify it
across an organization, that is far more power than catching someone doing wrong. Yes, there's some loss prevention aspects, but no, look at what's doing well and try to replicate that. There's far more upside there than there is in just saying stop doing these things.
Yeah. Well, we had a speaker earlier today. Was it name's Riley? Was it Ryan?
Ryan Lee.
Ryan Lee. Sorry, Ryan. But he talked about gains in inches, right? That was really the coda of this whole thing. And it sounds like this is where we find all the value in Savi, is those inches, those incremental moments where we can improve, right? What are some of the aha moments you have when you put it in and it starts getting adopted? And the management starts seeing it and feeling it and finding that inch here and there.
Yeah, a couple actual stories of it. One, though, bar none, is the expectation of what they think is happening. And now that you're able to measure it, what the actual reality is. And some of these brands we're super fortunate to work with, as we dive in and are unpacking and understanding their operations and their business, what they're already measuring. Because even though I run a video-based AI company, I'm the first one to say you shouldn't use video for that, right? Some use cases it shouldn't be used for.
How so?
Yeah, some people are saying, you know what? We want to understand what's going on in our coolers from a compressor standpoint. And is the door left open and not open? And could you put a camera there? That's
an IoT device.
100%. I'm like, I could. There's models that would do that, but you can buy a $15 sensor that's going to last you for 5 to 10 years. Yeah. So much better way to do it, right? So it's really I would love for you to pay me to do that, but that's not something you should pay me to do. So I'm going to tell you that up front.
Well, they're not going to find value in it once they start cutting the check, right?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
So anyways, when you dive in, though, and you can actually see what was your expectation and what's reality of what's being measured, and a lot of what we do is around the guest experience. And it's crazy to me how many of these brands, how blind they are actually in some of these key things. So some of brands that have significant off-premise orders. And we say, okay, great. So it's very much, you've got a lot of off-premise orders, but someone's still coming into the store and having to pick up that food, whether it's the guest, off-premise, etc. What is that time to engage? From the time someone walks in your store to when they're engaged with one of your team members, what should that be? And the guesses are all over the board, and now you can measure it, and oftentimes the guesses don't quite match up with the reality. But you can start to pinpoint when this happens, this is the correlation of when someone walks out or when they get frustrated right? It's all about, you're spending a ton of money to get people into your stores.
Yeah.
Let's ensure they have an amazing experience. And what we find when we go in there measuring something like that, guest engage, time to engage, and total service time, just 2 metrics. You're able to start to see, one, great, here is our baseline and this is what it should be. Now show me the outliers. And when you just click right on it, it takes you to the video where you can watch and hear. They're like, oh my gosh, why are they doing that? And then you hear from the background, that's actually part of our process.
Why?
And you're like, what? Well, what? Right? And then you start hearing the executive go to the mid-level and say, hey, well, why is that part of our well, because they didn't actually see it in practice. And now you're seeing it from the game film, and you're removing those steps that are frustrating employees. You're able to improve, and you're improving based upon leading indicators rather than a lagging indicator of getting third-party chargebacks or getting complaints, right?
Right.
You're actually addressing it so much quicker down the value chain. Where I love Andy Grove's book on management. He talks about the egg factory, right? Of what it costs you to get an egg out onto someone's plate. It's a great analogy because it's at a restaurant.
Sure.
And it's like, well, how much is the egg when you buy it? And then someone had to touch it and unpack it and receive it and store it. And you had to pay to cool it in a fridge, right? Yeah. So if you can find out the egg's bad up here or good, it's a lot more affordable to find it earlier in the process. And that's what we're finding with these brands is the data points, the quicker you can get that in front of them and then get to context, that's when you can impact change. And then you're coaching employees on, they're like, yeah, that's exactly what's going on. He gets it. And then there's empathy, there's understanding, and you get to those learning moments so much quicker than you need to do this better. And they're like, you don't even understand what I'm going through. So
can you must have more stories or data on that specifically, because it's going through my head. The employee emotional experience, going to that example you said, everybody's had those experiences, performance reviews, managers giving you feedback. You go, that's not me. That doesn't apply. But now they're seen and understood if managers are using your data in those conversations. So how does that impact the employee to know that?
Yeah, when you understand the rules of the game and you understand like what you're being measured against, and that the coach has the film and you're watching it too, and you're like, yeah, that is the actual experience. So you eliminate any of the he said, she said. You eliminate any of the bias of like, you just don't get it and understand, so I'm not going to listen to you. That's all eliminated, and you're actually starting at a point of understanding. I'll give you an example from, we measure speed of service in the in-store and in the drive-through, because you should want to know how well you're doing with all your customers, not just a certain portion of them, right? But when we started interviewing employees, before we went in there, we were like, we want to understand how employees like the existing timers, how they're using it, all of that. And we did a small study and then had it backed up by a very large QSR brand that's known for how they handle things in the drive-thru. And it's that frontline employees, oftentimes the timers were creating anxiety for them. And we're like,
the clock's ticking.
The clock's ticking. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's good though, to be under pressure. So, but tell me more. Like, you unanimously across the board ask, and as soon as you hit the store below the store manager, they hated it. You went above the store manager and they loved it. I'm like, okay, why is there such a dichotomy there? And this chasm is so wide and drastic. And you started to dive in with the employees, and they're like, well, I'm getting yelled at to pick up the service time when we messed up a guest order at the window, and I'm trying to take time with them because the only metric was this active window time. It was really the only thing it could measure. And so imagine you're sitting there like, you're like, I'm so sorry we screwed up. Let me help take care of you.
The why isn't in there though.
Yeah, and someone's yelling at you, our window time's right, we got to pick it up. And you're like, right, they didn't. And so the anxiety came in when they're like, I feel like I'm being measured on something that is a piece, but it lacks the context of what's going on, and it leads to the wrong behaviors. We've all been there when the employees are like, hey, could I have you pull forward real quick?
There's companies that actually built a system to pull forward. They gave you a ticket now. They actually brought in materials in a process to game their own system.
Correct. And Matt, as the guest, I mean, they're like, I had this the other day at a very well-known brand, and it was cold. It's starting to get cold, right? I live in northern Utah, in the mountains, and my kid's like, Dad, after this game, can we stop and get some hot chocolate? And I'm like, oh yeah, they just built this new store in our town. It's a small town. Let's go. We go, drive through. I get there to pay. They have me pay, and then they said, sir, do you mind just pulling forward? Mind you, we were getting 3 hot chocolates.
Sure.
And I was like, well, this
not a big order.
Shouldn't take long, but okay. And I pulled forward, and I sat there for about 8 minutes. And I was like, they forgot our order. So I jumped out of the car, walked in the store, and I was like, hey, we're just waiting out there in the drive-thru for, I'm so sorry. And the gal, looks at her. I see her look over at the other team, and the other team member's like frantically in the back, like, yeah, I'm sorry. And it's because they were being measured on that time. And they're like, she had something else she had to go do. Something else was going on. I don't know the backstory. The manager wouldn't know the backstory either above store.
Yeah.
And so it led to the complete opposite guest experience than what a timer is actually meant to create. So anyways, I use that story of like, we had to rethink how we were measuring the drive-through and all of that, because when you feel like it's out of your control and you can't change things, but you're being measured on it and they don't know why, It just creates anxiety, and it creates an adverse negative effect that is complete opposite of what it was put in to do. So did that answer this?
Absolutely did. You get what you measure, and so measure the right things.
Whatever is measured is managed, whatever is managed is improved.
And then the whole idea that somebody's got some eyes on the business also as a piece that says, well, I'm going to make sure I button it down because I know we're being watched or we're being coached or observed. And that's how I describe it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, great, I'm just going to do the things that I should be doing. Or when they're telling you, hey, I think we need to change this process, you're able to go and look and watch and like, oh, you're verified. We had a 100 location brand that is fast growing and doing fantastic, fast casual environment. And what they noticed is when their service times went out of whack, right? And they were well above the threshold. When they clicked on the video and it pulls up all the video and they watch the context, it was actually steps in their process earlier breaking down. And they were able to notice, oh, this process is good for this part of the day part, but it actually causes problems at this. We need to adjust it, right? And it was, the employees were literally just following the process. Now the process can be adjusted and changed, and they're doing it with context. As an IT leader at a brand, I'm going to quote him, Joe. He says the why is the whole ball game. Mm-hmm. You gotta understand why it's happening, not what's happening. Why is it happening? So
turn the metaphorical camera around at yourself. You've seen your customers learn lessons as they learn about their people and what's going on. How have you taken those lessons applied in your own business and how you manage your own people?
Oh, that's a loaded question. One of the things we've learned and watched brands that were super successful, they are true to their core of who they are, and they actually only have a few things they focus on. It's really super clear the brand promise they're going to deliver, how they're going to do it, and they're not chasing shiny objects and too many initiatives. Typically, they have no more than 5 initiatives and often even less. I noticed that I was asking things of my team too much, and I was spreading them too thin to where they didn't know what to prioritize. And that's not their fault. That's actually my fault as a leader. Because you think about it in your own personal life, when there's so much going on, it creates that analysis paralysis. There's a reason that term exists. And if my team's having to question what is the most important priority, I've really failed them as a leader. And because my business isn't similar to a restaurant where I can't measure a lot with video, right? Most of it, though, is measured in how they're interacting with systems. We found baselines that we could measure so that they knew why it was being measured, how we were measuring it, and how we were going to use it to help them improve. And we simplified it so that no one individual has more than 4 things that is their priority, right? We have our priorities as a company. We use the OKR framework. And it's really about getting down to, I use the example, if I want to learn Spanish, that's something I actually want to do. I speak Vietnamese and English, and I would love to learn Spanish. And so me and my kids have been trying to learn that, but I can just say, I want to learn Spanish. And that's, you could say, a clear goal.
No dimension of time around that, though.
Correct. And I can even say I want to learn Spanish in the next 2 years.
Okay.
Great. And what you find most people is 6 months, a year down the road, they're like, yeah, I'm still going to learn Spanish.
Yeah, but no level of progression.
100%.
Yeah.
And so when you make it super simple, and doing this with my kids, where it's like, you know what, guys, by the end of this month, we're going to be able to introduce ourselves.
Okay.
By the end of next month, we should be able to order food.
Yeah.
By this month, we should be able, right? Really super clear, specific goals that actually all flows up to, I want to learn Spanish, but it's achievable, it's measurable, and we find out really early on, guys, we're not even able to introduce ourselves. We're definitely not going to hit the goal of, and so you're able to recalibrate. So simplifying and adding clarity to folks so they know what is being measured, why it's being measured, and how they can use that to improve, because everyone wants to improve.
That feels like an ethos for you, just overall, Brock. I mean, from the way you brought your solution to the world, not as a gotcha tool, but as a coaching tool, looking at your team and giving them the right path, the right coaching and goals and objectives, OKRs, right?
Yeah.
And now, coincidentally, we happen to be here at an event that's all about leadership and developing our people.
Yeah.
So now we have somebody like Kai and Kyler and your team and the investment you're making in the Prosper Accelerate Conference. Tell us a little bit of how this is all culminated to now, and now it's coming up with you in this event, and the idea of developing the leaders in your organization and what you're bringing to the world. Because this all cascades, right?
Yep. Someone said it actually here, and they said it at the forum. Your organization everyone talks about scale.
Yeah.
But it can only scale as fast as your people. And our first guiding principle at Savi is we believe people matter.
Yes.
And what we mean by that is I firmly believe businesses are just people interacting with other people, right? Savi interacting with whatever company. It's the people that work at Savi interacting with the people who work for our customers, our partners, and all of that. And people want to do well, and they want to be able to give back. So when I look at what they're doing here with Prosper and the Accelerate program, and Kyler on our team who leads our revenue team, when I heard what they were doing and having, I'm like, Kai, I want you to go spend both the time, money, investment. We need to do this. And for two reasons, actually. One, obviously, he's given so much to Savi. I hope that this is helping him progress even more in his career. But two, the empathy that you understand for people when you sit in a room and no one's trying to get business done, if you will.
Yeah.
It's what are the problems you're working on? Like I had a conversation with an individual who runs international franchisee relations for their brand, right? And we sat down and I was like, what was your problem at the table? And us and two other unpacked this problem for him, and everyone had all this great input. And I'm listening to it, right? And like going, this is awesome, and gave my 2 cents. And I walked away with things that I could implement in Savi's brand, right?
Yeah.
And so you look at the personal development that happens, one, in empathy and understanding for our guests. I don't believe the person leading our revenue team, we need to have empathy and understanding, and it's gained here. It's you're building yourself as an individual, the network and people he's able to grow, right? All of those things, to have it in a structured way that I can just send my people, and they then can take it and learn so much from it. It's invaluable.
I love it. Love it. Okay.
So we only touched on AI a little bit.
Here it comes.
What's in general, and then tie it to your business, what's your philosophy or view on AI in our industry?
Lot of promise, lot of hype, lot of underdeliver at the moment. And what I mean by that, Adam from WTI Technology gave a talk today on AI, and it was great. He gave this READY framework, and he talked about execution and discipline. Mm-hmm. And if you look, I think MIT, or the Rand Institute, Harvard, they've all put out these different studies. One way or another, it's come to the culmination that 70 to 90% of AI initiatives fail. The interesting thing is half of the failures have nothing to do with the technology. The technology actually works. It's the execution of implementing it.
Is it because they didn't start with the problem first?
They didn't anchor it to a strategy, an ROI, and where is the highest impact for the lowest technical implementation. I'll use a specific example in AI. There is a lot computer vision models can do in a controlled environment. And it's, even I am like, wow, this is moving so quickly, and I'm spending all my time in it, and you watch it, like, this is great. But there's a difference between that and implementing it in a brand at an affordable rate and at scale they can support, and where there's ROI. We'll use order accuracy as an example. We got brought into a brand after they had lost or had a failed pilot. They spent over 7 figures in man hours and tech to make happen. And it was because it went into the lab and it could detect onion salt. It could detect everything, right?
Ideal environment,
controlled. It was fantastic. It was awesome. One simple thing we laugh at, because we deal with cameras, go throw a camera with a plexiglass on it, or anything with plexiglass, in a kitchen.
Grease covers it.
Grease and steam and all of a sudden that really crisp, clear image doesn't work after 3 weeks to a month. That's something so simple, but it's actually a reality that they ran into. The other thing is it was all about everyone's looking at the fringe case of shiny, saying, "Oh, it can tell me when the cup needs to be refilled." And yeah, in that controlled environment, but with a surveillance camera putting it there and actually being able to get a clear enough picture from the angle, the number of cameras it's going to require, and compute power, the lighting in the room. It's literally like, okay, and great. So you're now just telling the server, go fill up water bottles, right? Like, where's the actual business ROI in that? So we get caught in the shiny. We get caught in things that are, you're expecting perfection in an imperfect environment that is changing, and you're chasing fringe cases that aren't anchored in ROI. Where when we asked this brand, we're like, well, order accuracy, what was the original problem? And they're like, oh, it was off-premise chargebacks and complaints. I'm like, okay, so was it just third-party chargebacks? Like, no, it was off-premise complaints in general. And I'm like, okay, what are the main complaints you get?
Yeah.
And they're like, 90% of it is that we're missing items. Well, counting items, did they get 3 sandwiches, 2 fries, and 2 drinks? Such an easier technical problem than detecting onions and pickles and seeing it all. Right? Like,
when you overly complex.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so they anchored on in the lab because of exciting, cool technology, all of these fringe cases that made the technology really hard and expensive to deploy, when it actually, the core problem, 90% of the value was actually done with probably 20% of the compute and models and cost needed, right? And then when they went to deploy it, because of how complicated they made it, it was more expensive to deploy and maintain than the actual problem they were having.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, all of this could have been avoided with a strategy session.
TLDR.
Up front. And it sounds so simple. And I'm not being like, I've done this in my own organization where you just get excited about things. So AI, I don't think it's hype at its core. It's going to really provide significant value in the coming years. Yeah. Most of it, though, is going to fail because it's not anchored in an ROI. It's chasing fringe cases instead of core problems. It's not being applied against the right problems. And the data infrastructure and setup isn't ready for it. Whether it's siloed data points that don't talk to each other. If you gave AI only an eighth of the puzzle and told it to complete the puzzle, it's going to complete the eighth of the puzzle. Yeah. But there's not as much value there. And so is your data infrastructure ready to hand it? Is the actual store infrastructure in place? Does your team know how to use it, right? All of those things need to happen before the technology can be useful. A Ferrari is an amazing piece of mechanical improvement, but if you're trying to go off-roading with it, not going to work. Maybe you can put it on a track, but if the driver doesn't know how to drive, right? Like, there's all of these other things that have nothing to do with the actual technology.
Right tool for the right job, right?
Right tool for the right job, and invest in your people so that they know how to use these tools. Yeah. And then, are you solving the right problem with the right people? We often go into these RFPs and these pilots and POCs with really, really great technical leaders who want to serve their organizations, and they're checking all the technical boxes, but oftentimes there's a disconnect between that frontline operations team and how they want to use it and consume it versus what the team thinks about. I'll use one specific example. I know we were asked by this brand, they did a year-long POC of testing different technology to measure guest engagement.
Sure.
They used video, they used LiDAR, they used Bluetooth beacons, all these different things. We were fortunate to rank the highest and score out of it, which is where we love to see.
Way to go, Savi.
Yeah. You like to know, like, they tested it at a complete third party and came back with what we think. So it's great. But one of the leaders on there was like, hey, this is awesome. Now we need these 2 to 3 things in notifications sent to our team. And we're like, okay, well, how do you want it sent to them? How are we going to notify them? And he's like, we need text messages. They need to go in text message or push notifications in the app. And I'm like, okay.
What's the frequency of that?
So great. And I literally was like, okay, understand what you're saying. Can we get a meeting with the operations team and it needs to be someone who's in stores. So they're like, well, this is our area director. They're over 30 stores, but they came up through the organization. So I was like, hey, and they're like, oh, what are the 3 things? And I said, no, can we step back? If I sent your team a text message or a push notification on their phone during the day, she says they better not get it because we don't want them on their phones when they're in the store working.
There's your gap.
There you go.
Yeah.
Something so simple, right? But like what was being asked for, and had we not pushed back, we would have just ran and developed all this stuff that was not meeting their needs. Yeah. And then that we're saying, well, no, what's the workflow? And then you have the manager saying, what I really actually need is in the morning, I spend this time. If that was delivered to me as part of my workflow, I could add it in.
Yeah.
So once again, nothing to do with the technology. It's all about alignment within organizations and communication, and back to what's the problem to be solved and how are you solving it for the different use cases? Because our tech has significant different value for a shift leader store manager than it does for a VP of ops. They both engage with our technology in very different ways. So understand what the actual problem that needs to be solved and who it's being solved for.
It sounds like you've got to practice now to help a client with that thinking, right? And making sure they're doing that and aligning in the right way now. Is that fairly standardized for you?
The framework is standardized, right? It's all about the organization, the culture, the people, how they're using it. But I think it was Clayton Christensen that said, true principles are true principles. They apply across the board. And that framework of those principles is true. And we've learned the hard way. I wish I could say we knew this right along. We made all the mistakes.
Sometimes you go for debate too, right?
Yeah. With brands, investing early, initially as savvy, but you see the patterns and you learn over time that now we've been able to build a framework that we always say, whether or not you work with us in the long run, we know this framework works. So if you're not willing to use it, we know we're going to fail. So we're going to politely bow out of this. And even if you don't work with us, apply this framework because it works.
Well, what you're describing too is a cliche in the industry, right? Which is a IT project without ops buy-in is doomed to fail. Right? It's just when we hear it time and time again. And what I love about what you're saying is you can say no. Hey, let's hold on before we do this. This is smart because it's going to be a waste of your time. It's going to be a waste of their time and resources. They're going to sink all this in it. And then ultimately give everybody a black eye that went in on this thing because nobody had the moment to go, I don't think that's a good idea right now. Let's really pressure test the thinking.
Yes. And it's crazy how often everyone's saying it, but it's still the train's just moving down the tracks. They actually mentioned the Boeing example. They asked all the engineers about the 737 MAX fiasco a few years ago. And all the engineers that were interviewed, it was like a unanimous thing. They're like, yeah, this project is terrible. It won't work. But everyone just kept moving along.
Just keep stamping it going down the line.
What I think the CEO of Kava just said at an event we were at, what you say no to is as important or even more important than what you say yes to.
Beyond, absolutely. I was like, put up a restaurant without doing a site survey and understanding what actually the traffic is going by. It should even put it up there. We just want it there.
Yep. Get back to the fundamentals.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brock, I know we got to land the plane here. We got more show for you to get onto. But I always like people to know where they're going to find you next. I know you're very active on the road these days. What's coming up for you next?
Yeah. Well, the next event, RFDC is what our team will be at. I was thinking, I'm actually going to be home with my family next week.
You can't visit them there,
which is fantastic. So I'm going to go hang out with my wife and kids. We'll be at RFDC though. Would love to connect if you're going to be there. Right, AI and computer vision is definitely something that's top of mind. Yeah. More importantly, though, is understanding the technology and its limits is probably as important as understanding what it can do. So, would love to connect. If our team can be a resource to you, please reach out. We would love to be able to help, even if it's a project you're already underway with someone else. If we can just provide some help and input, we'd love to be helpful to you. Yeah.
And also to back that up, Savi has been doing this before ChatGPT came out. This isn't something that they just, now we're going to spin up the new thing based on what ChatGPT can do. They've been studying and analyzing, really understanding this fundamentally, and then applying more of that AI to it to really drive this home. This isn't experimental by any means, right?
No, and we're unbiased because we actually don't develop the core models in-house. I don't have a team of PhDs. We go out to all these different AI companies that show all this promise, and we find what is the most affordable, reliable, and accurate models, and we productize it in the infrastructure that we have. And I say that because I've seen a lot of really, really cool technology demos fail really quickly when it's applied in the wild. And so we're unbiased when it comes to the model. We'll tell you, yeah, it can do that. I hear things and see things all the time. I'm like, that's not going to work because of this, and this, because we've gone and tested. We have full teams that are just testing all these different models that everyone's developing. So we're fairly unbiased from that standpoint and know what's going to work and what's not. So.
And Savi works. So, if you took away anything from this, Brock and his team are people that really take a lot of pride in delivering as promised. It's not always about the software, it's about the results that they're going to give you. And they're committed to making sure that the projects that they get into are going to give what was promised in that engagement and take great care of both actually his time and your time as well. So that's the reality, right?
That's 100%.
Going where we can help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for now, we're going to sign off here from the Prosper Accelerate Conference with Brock Week, CEO of Savi Solutions. And much like Brock, this guy's got a giant heart. One of the reasons I value him so much, he's just a good man. And what we always like to close with is the idea of random acts of kindness. Sprinkle that stuff everywhere. It's an unlimited resource. You never know whose day you're going to turn around. That smile, that open door, that little thing that's going to move the needle a little bit. And selfishly, you get a little bit of a smile on your face when you do something good for somebody else. So embrace that. Life is short. Treat everybody great. It never hurts. So for now, we're going to sign off for the ChatGTM podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. And thank you for letting us be part of your world and you being part of our audience. We'll see you later.